I feel like you're responsible for many of my cinematic babysitters growing up, so thank you very much.
All right. As long as they treated you well.
They did.
Didn't make you a serial killer, did they?
No, no, there's specific ones like High School High and Major
Oh yeah.
League. So, and we're the holiday season, so jingle all the way.
Yeah. Oh
But
yeah. Wow. You did reach back. Jingle all the way.
yeah, yeah. So there's a lot to be impressed about here. But John Wick Chapter 4 is the peak of your accomplishments to me. So truly extraordinary work.
Thank you.
Yeah. So it's going to be hard for me to not pull a Chris Farley on SNL as the reporter who just simply lists all the awesome things you do. But I thought I'd do a variation of that, but ask what comes to mind when it comes to achieving those scenes, like the mathematics involved, the art of selling the pain so authentically. So I
Mhm.
wanted to begin by asking about the Arch de Triomphe, where John Wick is dodging the cars and using them as power pieces in his game of chess to take out those who are out to get him. The tax and yarn that I imagine went into that, and the stunt work
Mhm.
is just hard to process. So I hope you could shed some light on that and like what first pops up into your mind with that moment.
Um, well, yeah, I mean, the first thing that pops up into my mind is definitively remember sitting with Chad, and he goes, and he Chad has this funny way of like like when we were at the Arc de Triomphe, and you're looking at all the steps, he goes, "Yeah, yeah, we're gonna do this." He gets sort of excited like a little kid, and he goes, "Hey, I wanna hit 25 people with a car." And then we looked at this old movie, and I think we counted 22 hits. So he goes,
Mm,
"So we're gonna do 25. I want to do 25 hits." And I'm thinking we better line up the ambulances if we're going to hit 25 people with
right.
cars. No, because you just car hits are brutal.
Mm,
Um, so you that's really not an option, and so you start figuring it out. And things that I've done in the past, having been a stuntman and hit the ground really hard and done some damage to myself that I wish I hadn't done. I don't ever wish that on other people. So my um, the way that I approach things is from the landing backwards.
mm,
So it's like how are these guys gonna? How do we keep them safe? How are they gonna hit the ground? Because they're gonna hit the concrete, and they can't wear helmets. And again, so like, okay, well, what if it wasn't concrete? What if it was padded? And then you start going, oh, okay, so we developed this kind of padded floor with these automated padded cars that you could digitally put real cars on. And because you can fake the cars and you can do digital cars in this, but you really
right.
can't do digital people, despite what everybody's worried about AI. It ain't there.
Yeah,
We know what a real car hit looks like.
right.
Um, so, and we wanted, it's what makes John Wick is that reality based. So we created this padded thing, and then you intermingle some other real car hits on with real cars to cut in and out, and those are developed with some of the premier drivers in the business, Tanner Fouts and Jay Lynch and um, uh, Greg Tracy and guys that have been doing this for and like it's one thing to drive a car, but it's another thing to drive a car at a person and going to hit that person. And
Right.
and then the people getting hit don't necessarily know these drivers. So there's time, okay, you got to figure out how to create the trust in the guy and
Mhm.
person. So it's one piece at a time, but you know, so you get these big, huge, horrific flips and hits that are on a padded sequence, on a padded stage, let's say, and then you intermingle with some of these other ones, like when the John Wick's character gets thrown in the side of the van,
Mhm. Yeah.
but you'd cut away the van, and you have Tanner, this phenomenal driver that's going to hit a mark exactly within inches of it. And so they know when he's there, you throw here and it's going to, and you just mitigate as much. And he still knocked shit out of him. There's no question,
Right. Yeah.
but I was very happy when we were done hitting people with cars because they're still risky.
Yeah. Well, it looked good, and I appreciate all the hard work that went into it.
You're
Then, of
welcome.
course, there's everything going on in Osaka Continental. There's Kane's motion sensors. There's John Wick with the nunchucks. There's Akira's
Yeah.
knife climb. There's so much packed into that sequence. So with this one, I'd like to know if you thought about the musicality of it all, and if you had a editorial mind, because the film cuts back and forth between these characters in these different environments, but lets each character kind of linger within those spaces. It's not a complete, ping pong kind of approach where it's going from one to the next. It lets like it breathe within that space. But I imagine you have to think about those stunts separately and also their relationship with each other in creating that fluidity.
Yeah, and I'll be honest. I can't really take too much credit for that. That's really the Chad. I mean, John Wick exists. I mean, I'm the only, and most projects you can say we're all expendable,
Mm,
and in John Wick, everyone is except for Chad and Keanu. You could, and you know, I'm expendable, and I've worked really hard to do the best job that I can, but I'm expendable. You know, somebody else. There's really a lot of talent out there. Darren Prescott was doing it before me, who's a very good friend of both mine and Chad's, and we have some other really talented friends that could do the job, and luckily I got to do it. But Chad is Chad, you know,
mm,
and John Wick exists, and John Wick is the what it is because of Chad and Keanu. And so that musicality and that comes really out of Chad. And he knows, you know, you're walking through and he's like, okay, this sequence is going to be this. And I'll be honest, that Continental sequence could have been 15, 20 minutes longer.
yeah.
There's a whole lot. There's a whole lot that's not in there. Um, and so you know that okay, it's going to be this long, and we're going to shoot all of this, and you know that's the beauty of the editing and the strength of Chad is um, that he knows that rhythm, you know. So I can't really take credit for that.
I spoke a little bit about this with Chad, but I wonder if you have any thoughts about it. I really love that wind up punch that Donnie Yen does in the kitchen. Like that moment offers some really fascinating character details, such as
Yeah.
like he at least takes the time to humor himself and other people's dirty work. So I'd love to know your thoughts about that moment and kind of and if what it may be like if you did come work with your collaborators to offer some very subtle information about the character in ways like that.
No, not at all, actually. And I'll tell you where, again, giving Chad, I don't know what he said about it or what, but you know, part of the success of John Wick also is in the casting.
Hmm.
And, you know, Chad cast actors that he knows can do this range. You know, he knows they're gonna do this thing, and but he doesn't force them into like walk a tightrope. He really allows them the breadth to create that character. And I really think that was all Donnie Yen being Donnie Yen and Chad, you know, kind of saying, look, this is what I really see as this character. And I think, and I know Chad was very ecstatic with where Donnie Yen took it. I don't think it's exactly where Chad had planned on in the beginning, but he knew he had a great actor that was going to really embody this character. And you know, it's the same way with Keanu and John Wick. I mean, you can't, like I said earlier, you can't put somebody else as you can't recast John Wick
Yeah.
as you know. You can recast somebody else as something else, but it would never be, you know, the nuances of what Keanu brings, the the intangibles. I remember after we shot all the Germany stuff, getting ready to go to Paris. We had a wrap party, and there was a kind of a sizzle reel, and then there was this one shot at the end, and I remember looking at it. It was Keanu just standing before the club scene and all the water and all the thing,
Hmm.
and he's just standing there, right? And I remember looking at it and going, that's a movie star.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything. He didn't. It was. He just was fucking cool, you
Hmm.
know. And that's, and Chad has that sense too, and again, Donnie Yen does Donnie Yen, and he guides that in that direction, and he gives Keanu the room to be John Wick.
Yeah. 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 Uh, we're out of time. We didn't even get to the Stairway to Hell, the water club scene that you talk about, or even like just experimenting with the full potential of every weapon, which is just kind of blows my mind too. But it just shows how much there is to discuss and how much you should be proud of. So thank you again for your
I
time
appreciate
today.
it.
You have great work ahead of you, and I'll be front row to see it.
Great. I appreciate you. Thank you.